From Hooked on Homemade Happiness, and welcome to this tutorial. Today I am going to show you how to do single crochet ribbing, single crochet back loop only ribbing. There are a lot of ways to do crochet ribbing for the brim of a beanie or the cuff of a sleeve, bottom of a sweater, for a collar. There are lots of different techniques that we can use in crochet to create a ribbing. Single crochet back loop only is my absolute favorite. It's pretty much the only one that I use for all my beanies and sweaters and things like that. It is my favorite ribbing. So I'm going to show you how I like to do this ribbing and some tips and tricks to keep it nice and clean and get your edges really nice and straight, and to just get a really beautiful stretchy ribbing for those finishing touches for your projects. So for this tutorial, I'm just using a worsted weight yarn and an 5mm crochet hook. You can use any weight yarn, just as long as you're using the appropriate hook size. So let's get started. So to get started, we're going to get our yarn on our hook, and your ribbing can be any width. For this tutorial, I am going to chain 11. You can chain any width for your ribbing. And here's 11. So your ribbing is going to be 1 stitch less than your chain length. So my ribbing is going to be 10 stitches long. So I have my 11 chains, and I'm going to start with a row of single crochet. So by starting in the second chain from my hook, and I'm going to single crochet across. I always like to single crochet into these back bumps of my chain. I really like that it's, 1, easy to see where to work your stitches, and 2, you get this nice clean edge along the bottom. So here's my first chain, and here's my second chain. So starting here, I'm going to work a single crochet. So I'm going to insert my hook into that back bump of my chain, pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through 2 loops, and there is 1 single crochet. My chain 1 does not count as a stitch here. So I have 1 single crochet. So here's my next chain. So I'm going to insert my hook into that back bump of the next chain, pull up a loop, and then yarn over, pull through 2 for my second single crochet. Now I'm going to do that across my chain. So again, insert your hook into the next chain, that back bump there, pull up a loop, then yarn over and pull through 2. And repeat that all the way across the chain. And here is my last chain. So I'm going to single crochet in the last chain. So you should have 10. So I will have 10 single crochets. So you should have 1 single crochet less than the number of chains that you started with. So here I have 10 single crochet. So the next row is where we're going to start that ribbing effect. So I'm going to chain 1, and when I turn my work for my ribbing, I like to turn it away from me. So I'm going to turn it this way. It just really gives such a cleaner edge along each side when you turn your work away from you. So now I'm going to single crochet in the very first stitch. So I'm going to insert my hook into both these top loops in the first single crochet. My chain 1 does not count. Pull up a loop and pull through 2 for my first single crochet. Now I'm going to single crochet back loop only in the next. So here are my 2 loops. So I have my front loop here and my back loop here. Now this is the back of the stitch, but when we're talking about front loop and back loop only, you're always talking about which loop is closest to you and which loop is furthest away from you. So while this other side is the front of the stitch, this is the back loop only because it's the loop furthest away from you. So here's my front loop because it's closest to me, back loop because it's furthest from me. I'm going to insert my hook into just that back loop there and single crochet. And again, here's my 2 loops, front loop, back loop. I'm going to insert my hook into the back loop only and single crochet. And if you're wondering, it actually does matter if you do front loop or back loop. If you do front loop only, it's going to give a much different type of ribbing. It will be a ribbing, but much different, much subtler and flatter, where back loop only is going to give us those really textured ridges and a more obvious ribbed look for, you know, beanies and cuffs and things like that. So I do prefer the back loop only. It just gives a much more textured and obvious ribbing look than front loop only. So it does matter if you do front loop or back loop, it will give a much different look. So here's my next stitch, back loop only. And I'm going to do that all the way across my row until I have just one stitch left. So I'm going to keep going. Oops, back loop only in each stitch across. So here I have 2 left. So back loop only in the next. And here's my last stitch here, where I'm going to do a regular single crochet. Just like my first stitch, my last stitch is also going to be a regular single crochet. So I'm going to insert my hook into both the front and back loops here and single crochet. So by doing the regular single crochets in your first stitch and last stitch, you're going to give yourself a much cleaner edge for the bottom of your ribbing and the sides of your ribbing. And then that combined with turning your work away from you is just going to give you a nice straight edge on either side of your ribbing. So now we're just going to repeat row 2 until your ribbing is the length that you're looking for. So we'll chain 1, turn your work away from you, regular single crochet in your first stitch, and then single crochet back loop only in each stitch to the last one. So here I have my back loop only, single crochet, back loop only, single crochet. Do this across my row. And then here is my last stitch here. So I'm going to do that regular single crochet. So insert into both of those loops and single crochet. And now you can start to see that ribbing, those little notched edges here, the textured ribbing look that you're going to start to get when you work your single crochets into the back loop only. So when you're counting your rows, another tip is to remember that each of these bumps or ridges is 2 rows. So don't count this as 1 row. This is 2 rows. Here's 1 row here where you could see the these loops popping out. And then here's the row that I just did. So for a rule of thumb, if you want to know about how many rows you are in ribbing, I just count each of these notches in your ribbing as 2 rows. So here I have 3 rows so far. So here's 1, and then you can see this row's popped out a bit. That's row 2. And then this row kind of goes back a bit. That's row 3. So we're going to repeat this row for our ribbing. So chain 1, turn away from you, single crochet in the first stitch, and then single crochet back loop only across to the last stitch. And here is my second to last stitch, and my last one here, regular single crochet. So when you're single crocheting in that back loop only, you're pushing forward that front loop towards you, and it's creating this ribbing effect here that is so perfect for, you know, the bottom of a sweater, the cuff of a sleeve, the bottom of a hat, for a collar. So many techniques, so many places to use this technique here. So for your ribbing, you're just going to continue to repeat that row until your ribbing is the length that you're looking for. So I'll do a few more rows so you can see what it looks like a little further along. So here I've worked a few more rows of that single crochet ribbing. So this is the direction that it would be across the bottom of your hat or your sweater or whatever you're using it for. And it's just such a nice and stretchy ribbing. You can see how textured it is, working those stitches into the back loop only. And you can also see how straight and clean your edges look by doing the regular single crochets on both ends, and turning your work away from you just gives you the cleanest edge for your ribbing. So the bottom of your hat or the bottom of your sweater is going to be nice and straight along the bottom as well. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this tutorial was useful for you. This is my favorite type of ribbing, so I hope you enjoy it as well.